the stores that I go to that are really crushing it, they actually have some sort of whether it's a 90-day plan or it's a 6-month plan or a first quarter, second quarter plan, but they actually plan
more than
it.
30 days.
More than 30 days.
That's cool.
And that's the biggest thing that's very noticeable.
Welcome to another episode of The Drive. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey,
There he is. Jason, how you doing?
Doing good, dude.
Long time
Good
no
to
see.
you. Come on in.
Wow, look at this, my man. That's great.
Last time we were in Vegas, we rented a 1955 T-Bird convertible.
Okay.
And we drove that up and down the strip. And, you know, on video, it looks like it was a lot of fun. Ooh, that was work.
Was it?
All right, no power steering,
Yeah.
over 100 degrees outside.
Oh, no AC.
And no AC. Oh, of course not. Yeah, 1955, no.
Boy.
And the car was constantly overheating. So what you don't see in the video is me having to pull over about every 20 minutes and find like a shaded area and open the hood and let the engine cool down before we started back up again. Yeah, we would make it down to the end of the strip.
Yeah.
I'd have to pull over. Where were we pulling over? The Mirage or something like that?
Mandalay Bay.
We stopped in Mandalay Bay, and I'd have to. We pulled into an alleyway and just like open up the hood and just like let it cool down, and then after it cooled down, then we turned back around and came back up. So we decided this time we weren't going to do that.
Right.
So we decided to go on the polar opposite and get the most technologically advanced vehicle we could
This
find.
is beautiful.
Hey Cam, man, thank you so much for jamming with me today, man. I really appreciate it.
And finally meet you in person, Jason. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be a great time. Okay. Hey, Cam, for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now and kind of don't know who you are and kind of maybe how you got started in the business, if we can kind of start with that 2-minute origin story. That is Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again. So I grew up in a family that education was huge, was very important.
Yeah.
So I had to go to school. I grew up in Vancouver, BC, and I went to UBC, studied accounting. As part of my co-op program, I got a junior accounting job at Coquitlam Chrysler.
Okay.
And which was what my program, my school paid for it.
Nice.
And so for the dealership, it was basically a free employee, and which was a lot of fun. I get to do all the paperwork that nobody wanted to do, and a lot of the stuff with funding, which is what I did. And from there, it happened the weekend that they were short a sales manager. They asked me if I could help and start looking at numbers because I was good with numbers and start desking deals. And from there, I sort of got into it and started doing sales manager and finance manager. And that's how I got into it, man.
And what are you actively doing at the dealership?
So actively for the past 4.5 years, I've been working with a company that does private sales in BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And so I go to different dealerships and I get to work with, to tell you the truth, this is the part that I love about my job. I get to work with all different types of sales teams and stores, and very hands-on, and different parts of the country that I would have never gone. Prince Albert, Saskatchewan to Wynyard, Saskatchewan, and on the island.
So a lot of traveling. And how often are you on the road?
About 3 times a month, I would say. I'm on the road, and I have my horses that I train too, so I try to stay at home as much as I can.
Yep.
And but other than that, I'm on the road and going to different dealerships and trying to help dealerships sell some cars and grow however we can as a group and as a store and individually myself too.
It's you know what, helping dealerships or helping anybody develop themselves and become better is always a fun thing to do.
Absolutely.
You know, like it's great to help them develop out the strategy. It's a blast to help them execute the strategy. Like
Absolutely.
I'm with you on that, man. I have so much fun doing that. So here's my question to you, because like me, you're in and out of a lot of dealerships, right? And
Not as many as you, but
maybe. I like to identify patterns.
yes.
You know,
Yes.
you too.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
so let's think about this real quick. You know, you've been in some amazing operations. You've been in some not so good operations.
Yeah.
Then you've been in some you're like, crap, I probably won't even see these guys next year kind of operations.
true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
won't say names, but
No.
you know they exist,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
What kind of patterns are you seeing right now with, we'll start at the top. What kind of patterns are you seeing right now with the people that are just like they're just crushing it?
Yeah.
Like what would be maybe 2 or 3 patterns that you see that are consistent in that grouping of dealerships?
So part of the things that I'm also passionate about is marketing. So I think this pattern that I see, especially with this digital age, that I think lots of dealerships are trying to find their way of planning and having a strategy for their marketing and online exposure.
Yeah, they're not winging it, right?
They're not winging it.
They're not just
No,
like,
not at
they're
all.
just going to sit down, actually develop out a strategy. They're not checking off the proverbial box that they just did it.
Yeah. So, and that's what I see with the stores that I go to that are really crushing it. They actually have some sort of whether it's a 90-day plan or it's a 6-month plan or a first quarter, second quarter plan, but they actually plan
more than
it.
30 days.
More than 30 days.
That's cool.
And that's the biggest thing that's very noticeable. And there are those stores that we're not going to mention names,
No, that's
but
cool.
those are stores that are really struggling as far as not sales, of course, but also the flow of their dealership. It's like they have a buyer on the floor and they don't know what to do with it.
So you say those are the ones that are kind of in between,
Those
or
are
the ones that are
those are the ones that are really in the bottom.
Okay,
and
yeah.
you almost say, like, how are you even, like, how are you a franchise store?
Yeah.
You know? And those are
Those
stores.
are the stores like when someone walks in, like everyone just kind of like scurries off like cockroaches. All of a
That's
sudden,
right.
like,
That's right.
where did everyone go?
That's right.
What the hell just happened?
And those are the stores that when they're talking to me as far as getting an opinion from me, they just want to get an answer for like a quick fix for everything, like that
looking for the
magical, the easy button. That's right. That's right. Just easy button, hit it, and customers are going to walk in with a driver license and credit card. And that's the biggest pattern that I see, really, when it comes to marketing strategies and how to identify what they need to do to grow as a dealership.
Okay.
There are
Those are the ones that are kind of really crushing it, right?
crushing
They're taking time. They're actually documenting. They're not just like sitting around and saying, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's get somebody on that." Like they're actually taking the time to document what that strategy looks like, develop out what those real goals and objectives are, and then they're executing, which is the biggest part, right?
Yes.
Like I would think, if I was to think out of all the dealerships that I visited that are at that like top tier, that are like just crushing it,
Right.
like I'm with you on the market side 100%. They definitely have strategy, right? But I find even the middle group will have some strategy. Then what really separates the middle to that higher group, the ones that are just crushing it, is they freaking get it done. Like they don't talk about it. They're just they're doing it.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like they have a video they want to put together.
Yeah.
Well, after an hour of the conversation, they're out recording
Actually
it.
doing it.
Yeah.
That's right. That is huge. You're right. The other thing that I've noticed is, a lot of the stores that I go to in the last 2 years, I'd say, these are the stores that they were in the very bottom and now they're trying to pick it up, make things a little bit better.
They're climbing their way up.
They're climbing their way up. They have brought in sales managers that used to be great at selling cars,
Okay.
but they're not necessarily the best managers.
Yes.
So when they see an opportunity, when a client is at the store, in the showroom, or whether they're sending an email, and they see the opportunity, instead of having the process of training your salesperson how to deal with that prospect and how to approach it, they take it over and they do everything.
Which is not helping anybody,
It's
really.
not helping anybody.
And then it's literally now everything rides on that shoulder. I agree with you. It's almost like the it's like a cloak of success, right? But then once you kind of pull back the cloak, you're like, wow, there's really nothing in there. There's just it's just kind of on one guy's shoulder, and if that one guy decides to leave, it's bloop. I've seen that happen too. Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So, but that's true though. We are a people business first.
Yes. Of
And
course.
what I mean by that, it's our people
That's
first.
right. Yes.
If we don't focus on our
I see
people
where you're
first,
going.
how can we focus
I see where
on
you're going.
the people that are buying
I see
cars,
where you're
right?
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. That is true.
Because I agree with you. I think when I look at that bottom group, that's like, I don't know if they're going to be around long, and then I kind of look at that middle group. that middle group of dealers that are just really just trying to execute at a higher level.
Right.
But what is consistent, kind of I find in that group as far as a pattern goes, is that they do have a fundamental understanding that it's a people business.
Yes.
So those are the dealerships that are investing time, are investing money
Yes.
in training and coaching and developing
Yeah.
at some
Yeah.
levels.
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
lot less than others and some more, but
Yeah.
I do find in that middle
It's on
group
the
that there's a
radar.
little bit there.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's on the radar. Yeah, that's it's. I think this is the type of job that you and I have. How from the outside perspective, and we go to the stores and we look at it without having an involvement in that store and being part of that team, it gives us a very interesting opportunity to see everything from the outside.
I actually think it's kind of fun. I don't know about you. I do something weird. All right. Tell me if you think this is weird. All right.
All right.
I go to a dealership I've never been to before.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'll usually wear a jacket
Yeah.
so that my orange tie's not showing.
Right.
All right. Just because that's the dead giveaway.
Okay.
It's the dead giveaway. They're like, oh, like they just know. Oh, he's here. And what I'll do is I'll go sit in the service department with Austin or Jonathan or Nathan, whoever's with me.
Yeah.
And I'll just sit there. I will sit there for about 10, maybe 15 minutes and just kind of pretend like I'm waiting for my vehicle to get serviced and just kind of watch and listen. And
That's
boy,
cool.
I'll tell you, wow, you pick up so much about a dealership by just sitting there. I like to people watch. Do you people watch?
I do.
It's fun, right?
I do. And I tell you a story. It wasn't that weird. I got to tell you that.
Okay.
To me, it wasn't. anyways. But I really like that strategy. One thing I did at one of the stores that I went to, this store had a problem with the culture.
Okay.
Whereas they would hire, new hirees would come in.
Yeah.
And the percentage of the ones that would quit after 2-3 shifts, and they would actually go as far as writing a letter or an email to the management saying that I left because of the culture of the store. So
lack of or
lack
bad?
of bad.
Okay,
bad.
so it's
bad
even
culture.
worse.
Yes.
Okay, so
It's not that
I
doesn't.
find that with that bottom group,
Yes.
it's bad.
Bad.
I find that middle group, it's usually a lack of.
Lack of. Yes.
And then that upper group that's crushing it,
Yeah.
it is insanely
Yeah.
well defined.
Yes. Yeah. So and that's sort of what I did. I went to the store and it wasn't on a shift that I was supposed to be there, so they weren't expecting me to be there. I'd never been there, and I went in my regular attire, not work attire, and I was just listening to the conversation between the staff, salespeople to each other, salespeople with management, and salespeople with customers, and how they were talking.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. It blew me away that I actually I videoed what I saw. And that was an interaction with two salespeople that I was doing at a desk behind where a customer was sitting and was trying to write a deal with the salesperson.
Yeah.
So things like that, like you say, it's to sit back and watch. I think as a store level, they're so used to it, they don't see it.
Yep.
But when from the outside we go, we're like, oh my God, how can you, like, what is going on here?
Well, I actually kind of feel like that's a little bit of some of the value that we can bring to the dealership. And I know this for myself, having my own dealership, is that you get tunnel vision pretty quick. Do you know what I mean? You're so concentrated on your business, and you kind of forget to think about looking at other businesses or looking at other dealerships and just trying to kind of get a feeling where you are operationally. But it's cool with us because we're in so many. It changes every day. I mean, I could be in 4 or 5 dealerships in a day, easy, right?
Yeah.
I guess sometimes 6, just depends how close they are. Right. So it's just like it's like almost kind of a sensory overload. I mean, you just get to consume everything, and then I feel like we can kind of feed that information back to the dealership, and it's kind of our value proposition that we bring with it.
Absolutely. Keeps me in the job anyways.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way, and this is what I'm always telling our dealers, is that, it's not enough to just meet the customer's expectation, right?
Absolutely.
Like for you,
in today's industry, no.
It's not enough. Like it's straight up not enough, right? Not enough. For you, they hire the company to do the private sale.
Yeah.
You come, you do the private sale, right? You have met the expectation.
That's right.
That's what, I bought a widget.
Yeah.
You gave me a widget. And now there's a meeting of the expectation.
Right. That's right.
But it's like, how do you exceed that expectation? And I just see that's where like that's one of our opportunities, because we're in and out of dealerships so often. It's like we can take on more of this consultant type role and kind of help them through and identify maybe some of these cultural things, or bad habits or opportunities.
Right. Yeah, the opportunities. Speaking of patterns that you asked me, one of the things that I've also noticed is, and it's funny to use this term at a dealership, but merchandising. And at certain stores that you go to, they have all the cars parked nice and neat, and everything is together. But I don't know if that is so much good for the business or for the consumer's perspective.
Okay.
So I have seen some patterns between those stores, how they're laying out the cars, and that has kind of I'm starting to see a pattern of how it's working for those dealerships.
Yeah.
And a lot of the and this is for new car dealerships, and I see they're showcasing their pre-owned vehicle in such a pristine condition, as far as inside, outside, tires shining on all of them.
Yep.
And this is volume stores, and it gives them so much leverage. Customers look at those cars and say, "Wow, that's pre-owned." It's a year old. It's
merchandising.
And that is one of those. And there are also a lot of stores that I go to. It's funny. There are two separate departments in a dealership that usually they get blamed for everything.
Yeah,
Service department and the lot guys, right? They all have them. Every dealership, almost when you talk to the staff, they say, "Oh, our service department sucks. They're so bad, and our lot guys forget about it." But that's every store that you go to. Store that I went to, I don't know, in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, or
wait,
I went to
there's
a
a
store.
place called Humboldt?
Yeah, Humboldt.
Humboldt?
Yeah, T at the end.
Oh, Humboldt.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm gonna visit Humboldt.
Yeah.
I just want to go. I want to go there and take a selfie next to the sign.
With next to the sign.
That's all I want to do.
5 kilometers too.
And then I can go home.
That's right.
Sorry. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, and so it's the merchandising is something that I think it really could bring value to the dealership, and
well, it's a strategy. It's a commitment.
It's a strategy.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And it's also not a one and done type thing.
It's not.
The people that truly make a commitment out of it, it's not a one person job.
It's a chain.
Let me say that. It's like every employee is empowered and convicted to ensure that these vehicles are looking pristine.
That's right.
And so it's not just a lot boy's responsibility or lot guys or whatever, lot girl, I don't care what it is. It's not just their responsibility. No. It is literally the entire team's responsibility, right? Nobody's leaving empty, coffee cups in the cup holders, right? Yeah. No one's leaving, chewed up, meshed up, paper, mats in there. It's like everyone is very conscious, very aware of that.
A month ago, from 2 months ago.
Like that's the worst. That's the absolute worst.
I went to a store not long ago, and it was the first time at this store again, and I went for a lot walk in the morning just to know where everything is. And I went and I counted how many sold sign are on the cars, and it started. I'm like, wow, they've sold a lot of cars. And I started to look at these dates, and there was one of them was from October. This is last week that I went to the store, from October of 2019, sitting there. So, it's at the end of the day, I really think it comes down to the culture.
Yep.
And I think execution of that culture is also very important. Like you say, at some stores it's lack of, and at some stores it's bad culture. So I don't think there's any room for bad culture whatsoever. And if there is lack of, depending on how long you're going to have that you're lacking for, I think it would really affect you.
That's really a thing.
You have to.
You got to sit down. You actually have it as a strategy. Now, I find that the key to execution, because I think, like we were talking earlier, that middle group, I feel like if anything, that's kind of what they're lacking, is like they have the strategy, like they're maybe doing a good job of like developing on processes, maybe they're doing a good job of training or developing the team, but then it just comes to like execution. And I find the key to execution is just being intentful with our time.
Right.
Like you have to, if you're going to execute, it has to be scheduled.
Yes.
There's like, I mean, think about this. There's no way we could execute almost 20 podcasts in 3 days, with this format, without literally being incredibly intentful with our time, how we're using it, the breakdown time, the reloading the batteries, dumping the memory cards. Like it's just
Strategy,
all of that has to be really thought out before, and actually just to be able to execute it.
Yeah.
I do want to move on to another topic.
Sure.
Because I think you do a great job at this. And I want to talk a little bit about self-branding.
Okay.
I want to know, let's start with, when did you start?
Yeah.
And why do you do it?
So the self-branding for the car business, I started 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it started by, I felt the need that I need to grow as a person, as an individual. It's in my industry, in the private sale industry, it's quite easy to get comfortable. You get a few dealerships that you get to know them, you're doing an okay job, you meet their expectations, and they call you to go back, so you kind of get comfortable. And as soon as I felt comfortable, feeling comfortable made me uncomfortable. That's the truth.
That's really good.
I felt comfortable and I was like, okay, this is not good. I need to do something else because I'm just starting to get comfortable and, not so much being lazy, but not thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
So I made a mission that I'm gonna grow and step out of my comfort zone.
You're gonna be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's cool.
And I picked up my phone and I just started recording. And even though at times that, even to this day, it's not the most comfortable thing for me.
Sure.
But I do it, and I enjoy the fact that it makes me uncomfortable.
Yep.
Because it allows me to hold myself to a higher standard.
Yeah. Do you find I'm like yourself. I'm not actually a big fan of being in front of the camera. In fact,
You're amazing.
I had
I
had a little hack when I first started.
Yeah.
Is that, and my team hated it. I never looked at the lens.
Right.
So as long as I wasn't looking at the lens, I was okay. So I'm like, I'd stare at my camera guy's nose or something, or I'd stare at like his ear or something, and I'm just like, I never look at that lens, because for some reason, whenever I look at that lens, I'm like, blah, 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 and I'm just, I don't know, I would totally lose it. But what I find is that the camera has forced me to become a lot more self-aware about what I'm trying to accomplish and what is my brand.
Yes.
I think for a lot of people out there, they don't necessarily understand that a brand actually already exists.
Right.
It's in the eyes of the people you do business with and in the eyes of the people that consume your content, all right? So you don't necessarily define what the brand is, all right? The people that consume your content or the people that have done business with you, they're the ones that are actually defining it. The 2 or 3 words that they would use, jackass, knowledgeable, fun, kooky, that's kind of the brand in itself. Now, for us as, I guess, content creators, our goal and objective here is try to, kind of sculpt out what we would like that brand to look like.
Yes.
And I find that's where that self-awareness portions kind of come.
Correct.
Because in the beginning, like when I shot my first videos, I was like, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know how I wanted to be perceived in the eyes of the people that were going to be, consuming my content. So I found it almost really kind of a path, like a kind of just a self-identifying path of just, more self-awareness of just kind of like who I am as a brand and what does that mean and how do I execute it. So I've actually learned a lot about myself.
Right.
In fact, actually, I think I've learned probably more about myself than probably people have learned just from watching the content,
That's interesting.
You ever feel that way?
I do. And you know what? There's been so many times I've been unsure about which way even I should go.
Yeah.
Or even like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Do you know? And, but at the end of the day, the fact that, I do see growth, like within myself, and that sort of pushes me. And the couple of it could be a couple of random messages that I get from someone random, or even someone that I worked with for a very short period of time, that they messaged me and they valued the conversation. They took time out of their day to write to me. And it could be something even very small, like, hey man, how you doing? This was cool. Yeah. That just pushes you so much. And for that reason, I think that's really what gives the direction of which way you're going. I don't think, at least that's how it is for me. I am, I'm not really, I know what I want my message to be, but I don't know how much I can control it because of the conversations that come up and the scenarios and the situations that come up based on, in my case, the store visits that I do on a weekly basis.
Well, I find that you're definitely heading in the right direction of what your personal brand will be when it feels more comfortable about what you're talking about.
Right.
If you're feeling like you're forced,
Right.
to talk about something
It's
and it just
wrong.
doesn't feel
Yeah.
natural, and you're having to take like many shots or shoots or just
Yeah.
different, like you're like, probably not the thing you should probably be doing, right?
That's right.
But there's just so much value in building that brand. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, you have people reaching out to you. I
Yeah.
have people reaching out to me all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
it's awesome.
I think every salesperson out there can hugely benefit.
Absolutely.
I think about when I first started selling cars. I mean, to increase my audience, increase
Right.
my opportunities.
Yes.
Right.
I like how
I
you
take
use
business.
opportunities.
Oh, I hate leads.
Instead of leads,
I
yeah.
cannot stand the word leads. Like I get like I'll use some 4-letter words real fast, and lead is not the word that I'll there'll be other 4-letter words. I just don't understand. I don't know when we changed that, and it's like they're opportunities. That's all it is.
Yes.
But being able to put myself out there and having people to be able to consume me, it allows me to create and develop out more opportunities. Now, before I was branding as a salesperson, I mean, I was literally taking business cards and going through mall parking lots and like sticking it in cars that I wanted as a trade.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was just,
The hustle, baby.
The
hustle.
but salespeople have to understand that it's not the dealership's responsibility to generate them opportunities.
Yeah. I agree.
Like, we got to do it ourselves.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, for individual salespeople, it's their own personal business.
Yeah, we got to get back to that. At some point in
Yeah.
time, that got lost.
Yes.
I actually remember being told,
Yeah.
when I first started in this business, I was told that you are renting the desk,
Yeah.
all right? I'm allowing you to touch my inventory,
Right.
okay? But at the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
responsible for your own check.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so this is my business?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, great. Get out of my office.
Yeah.
It didn't work,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah. No,
But
it's-
that mentality
right.
of that this is my business, right? Sure, there's going to be some opportunities that come to the door, but I, as a business owner, I have to generate my own
Absolutely.
opportunities.
Absolutely. And with the power of social media, it's amazing. Like, there is so much you can do for free. For free.
Yeah.
It's and all these platforms are coming out, like TikTok, for example. I know sales individuals that are just killing it on TikTok.
Yeah.
And they do a couple of videos, and and they get 200 organic views.
I watched someone who was just, all they're doing, they're not actually in the TikTok.
Yeah.
They're just shooting the car
Uh-huh.
and then adding music behind it and throwing it up on TikTok.
Yeah.
And because
Oh, I
and
see,
because
I
it's a
see.
sexy looking car,
Yeah.
it's taken off.
Yeah.
And it reminds me so much of Facebook, like in 2007,
Yeah.
2008,
That's right.
where it's like, if I took a picture of that yellow Corvette that came in,
Yeah.
I'd get like 5,000 likes,
Yeah,
and
that's
I get
right.
like 10,000,
Yeah.
15,000 views, like
Yeah.
5,000 likes
Yeah,
for
it's true.
just of a picture,
It's true.
like probably not even a caption, or if it was a horrible caption,
Yeah.
but just a picture of a yellow Corvette.
Correct,
You know,
yeah.
now that's not the case.
Might have
But
been an
in
orange
TikTok,
Corvette, that one.
no, they didn't make orange ones. So they do now.
They
though.
do now.
They do now. And I was just at the auto show and I saw that new Corvette and I'm just going, God, that strategy plate would look really, really good on that. Did you know I actually have a vanity plate that says strategy on it?
I did not.
Yeah, the front
Do
of
you
my, yeah,
really?
it says strategy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The other day I took a picture because my car was super dirty. And
Yeah.
I was like, look how dirty my strategy is.
That's a good one. Strategy. Cool. Yeah. All right.
But no, opportunities for sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about content.
Okay.
Because I think some people kind of naturally understand that you're creating content for this person that's going to consume it.
Yeah.
You don't create content for yourself. You create content for others.
Yeah.
I think yeah, exactly, right. I mean, I've had a bunch of salespeople reach out to you, and I'm sure you probably get this from time to time too. You know, we're like, oh, I'm making all these walk around videos, and like, I'm like, because there's like, you're just staring at a camera and just regurgitating whatever the hell's on the brochure. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're not bringing me any value, you know, and then I come to find out that it's like, you know, they're passionate. It may not even necessarily be the car,
Right.
but that's what they do for a living. And I think that's okay. Like
Yeah.
that, I think is totally okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't have to be, your love or your passion in your life doesn't necessarily have to be your work, right? So, you know, I was talking to this one guy and I was just like, look, man, if you love Star Wars and grape snow cones, that's your content.
Right.
Because that's real, that's authentic, and I will connect with that.
Yeah.
And then great, guess what? You can create a whole audience around Star Wars people that love grape snow cones.
You'll never have to think about what to create.
You'll never have to think, because it will feel so natural and organic and authentic. But then let everybody know that you sell cars for a living. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think content is a very good way to build your own network.
Yeah.
Around your interest.
As long as you're providing value to the people that are listening.
That's right. And that value can be whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be about how a Cummins diesel, why it's better over the, other motors, or why the Allison transmission is better than Ace in the transmission, or why.
Because if you don't really know and you try to do a video about it, it's going to come out and it's going to be obvious.
Now, if it's a mechanic who's passionate, who's a transmission mechanic, who's technician who's passionate about that, absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think authenticity is absolutely key for creating content, and also valuable content.
Yeah, because you don't have to be a car person to be in the car business, right? We even said earlier on this podcast, this is a people business first, right? Making connections with others and creating that human contact is what people are looking for first. The product is the secondary portion of that formula.
Yeah.
Well, Kam, I know our time's up, but this has been so much fun, man.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much for jamming with me. I really appreciate it. For everyone that is watching right now or listening and would love to connect with you and just kind of learn a little bit more about you and what you're doing and during your branding journey, what is the best way to do so?
Best way is Instagram, IG, that's Kam Ayrom, and that's KAMAYROM, Instagram. Thank you.
Awesome, dude. This was fun.
Thank you very much. You're awesome, man. Thank you. You're a true professional. Oh, yeah, it's awesome.